in our regularly scheduled city commission meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor.
And it is Commissioner Ortiz's turn to do the pledge and the invocation, so please rise.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything that you have given us to date, and we just appreciate that we've got time to spend with family and friends and fellowship with one another this holidays past. So we just ask that you continue to be with us and bless us throughout the year. We just ask that you be with those who are in the front lines, and please just protect them and with health, and be with them and their families as well. So Lord, I give thanks to everything, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections?
I'd just like to make a statement on the minutes. I know it's kind of, everything seemed fine, but I thought it looked like I voted for a lot of things, which I don't recall. So I didn't go sifting through my notes to indicate that I did vote, but I think it would be best if we just state it as clear as possible. I know it's hard with the masks, so just so that C. Lynn can write it down.
Motion.
Yeah, our motions.
Oh, motion?
Motion.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, if we can just indicate when we're motioning, we're moving
Who?
to approve.
And who seconded?
Yeah.
To who made the motion?
Who moved and who seconded?
Okay, we can do
Yes.
that. Duly noted. Thank you. Any other comments on the minutes? None being, they'll stand as approved. At this time, this is a time we've set aside in our agenda to have the public come forward with any items that are not on the agenda to comment to the commission. We give you 5 minutes, and if you do come forward, please state your name for the record. You're up.
Welcome.
My name is Nathan. I'm Nathaniel Heck. I'm the pastor at Turning Point Church of the Nazarene. New to the community, just having a good time here, meeting people in the community, and we just wanted to let you know, a lot of times you guys get a lot of negative stuff and bad stuff, and so we're doing a lot of good things over there at Turning Point Church of the Nazarene. We want people to know about these are COVID care bags. We've partnered with several folks in the community to put these together. For those that are on quarantine, they can come and call the church and set up a time for a pickup or a drop-off at their homes and be able to take these and help them for their mental health through this time period. And so something that we partnered with several folks in the community on, just to try to be a part of the community, be better, and make everything better for the folks in the community. So anyway, we thank you for that. We're praying for you guys. We thank you for your service and all that you're doing, and hope we have a great year this year. And we celebrate everything that God's doing here. So we thank you for being a part of this. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Anybody else? Okay.
Item 6A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Garden City Public Schools and St. Catherine Hospital to allow the mayor to proclaim the week of January 25th through January 28th as Health Awareness Week in Garden City, Kansas.
Entertain a motion for that item.
Yeah, Commissioner Unruh motions that we approve the mayor to proclaim the week of January 25th through January 28th, 2021 as Health Awareness Week in Garden City, Kansas.
There was a motion by Commissioner Unruh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Dick. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
And I believe it's been calendared for you to read that at an event that the school district's having?
I've got it on my calendar.
Awesome. Item 7A, the governing body is asked to consider appointing one member of the city commission to participate in the review of firms who submitted qualifications to perform space needs assessment for the Department of Public Works. And just kind of as a matter of, you all might explore how you want to handle these things. Whether or not you want that to be an appointment from the mayor or, you know, voting on it is kind of up to you. It's a procedural deal. I would think more often than not, it's been something where we, the mayor, one of the privileges, I guess, or burdens, however you want to look at it, Mayor, of picking one of your peers or yourself to serve
Sure.
in these ways that we blend elected official input as well as department head input when going through different selection processes.
I've talked to the commissioners and Commissioner Euler would like to serve in that capacity.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
All right.
And
Thank
just to let you know, Commissioner Ortiz stepped down, both in the spirit of not just voting on items that there may be a conflict, but to refrain from the discussion of those as well. So he can rejoin as the 7-second delay in television passes. Okay, ready for the next item. We ask the governing body to consider dates for your 2021 Commission Training Workshop and the 2021 Commission Goal Setting Retreat. For the last several years, the Commission has worked with governance consultant, trainer, author, and former city manager Mike Condiff. Mike, who does business as the Elam Group, has a successful background in local government management and Carver Model Board governance, which allows him to effectively assist governance boards of all kinds to effectively work with each other and help develop effective and productive relationships with their staff. The Garden City Commission has historically valued Mike's training and his availability throughout the year to serve as a coach to both staff and elected officials regarding how techniques for having difficult conversations, raising issues, offering different perspectives during discussions, and other interpersonal communication advice. If the governing body wishes to continue this skill-building workshop, Mike has offered the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th as possible dates. And so probably working through that might be
Is this
way to start.
January? Of January?
No,
No,
February.
Oh, February, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm available all those dates. Other commissioners?
The 11th would be best for me if possible.
I can do the 11th.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
All right, February 11th for the workshop, and the second item would be to identify a date in late February for Commission Goal Setting Retreat. This is effectively an all-day event, traditionally like maybe an 8:30 start, 8:30 to 9. Somewhere in there. We've historically been able to conclude by 4, sometimes a little earlier. We'd ask you to identify a day in that week of February 22nd through 26th. This is sort of optimal for us because it's sufficient time to conclude, then review, and assemble some workshop material around whatever the CIP committee produces. So it has to be post the CIP committee getting done with their work. And then we also like to send out in the first week of March the budget, departmental budget forms and the assumptions that they would build into their budgets, which are in part based on whatever the commission says in their goal setting workshop. So but we don't have to do it that week. It sort of hits the sweet spot for us.
Any dates that are not available?
The 22nd, I'm not available.
Okay.
The 26th would be hard for me to make available, but the others are fine.
The 23rd, does that work?
That works
That's
for
the
me.
easiest day for me.
Okay.
I can make 22nd, 23rd,
Yeah.
25th work.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Yeah, I'm good with
Good.
any.
Sounds like the 23rd will work for
Tuesday,
me.
the 23rd.
8:30 start out.
Yeah, we'll send the agenda, but, I believe if you could block out just 8 to 5 on that day, and we'll perfect that based on what all we have in store for you. Thank you. Item 7C, the City of Garden City has designated Finney County United Way as the recipient of $14,352.52 that was made available through excess funds following the discontinuation of the underground overhead maintenance school that operated as a electric industry training program for 46 years in the region. The City of Garden City was a charter member of this school, and I would like to also recognize and thank Cliff Sonnenberg, who served on the UOM board longer than probably anyone with the city. And then also Tyler Patterson, who was most recently the city's appointee to serve on that board. So it was a great school, and when it was determined by that board that included not just city folks but other area utilities to discontinue the, as a not-for-profit, they identified where to send those funds and how to divvy them up among the groups represented. And so this is how the City of Garden City chose to disperse theirs.
That's awesome, helping the community.
Item 7D, the staff is pleased to report the 2020 fiber optic line installation project between the City Administrators Center and Garden City Regional Airport is complete and operational as of the 29th of December. And we certainly appreciate the funding sources for those improvements. The state of Kansas, the SURGE program, $526,000 plus.
Wow.
And then also the Finney County Spark reimbursement application that was approved for $231,263 and change. The really good partnership there with Pioneer Communications too, and we're excited about that connectivity to the airport, but then also what that opens up throughout the business districts in the central business district and along Fulton. So a good project. Also attended the county commission yesterday and their project. They had a similar project partnering with another firm that made the run from the fairgrounds up to the health department and then across the northern part of the city, connecting some county facilities, and theirs is complete as well. So that's those are two exciting improvements for this community. Item 7E, really pleased to highlight the continued generosity of City of Garden City employees. And this is on the heels of our most successful United Way campaign. And then in addition to around Christmas time, employees also donate to families in need during the Christmas season. They donated an additional $990 to the St. Catherine Hospital Foundation to provide gift certificates for frontline healthcare workers. So thank you to city employees for all the ways that they exhibit their generosity and serve this community. Item 7F, the city received correspondence from Cox Communications. This is required by our franchise with them for them to provide us notice when they change their service. Then the police departments provided the results of their auction, and the city vehicles and other unclaimed vehicles, those will wait until a date in March. Was a problem with the notice on that. I think the rest of the items are all staff reports. If you've got any questions on those, we'd be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions? All right.
It's getting to that time of year under meetings of note where you'll begin to see the legislative coffees. Those, at least for the foreseeable future, are going to be held virtually. So please visit the gardencitychamber.net website to get details on how you can attend legislative coffees virtually. That's all the information we have for you under manager's reports and meetings of note. So I think we're ready for item 9A, and if that's the appropriation ordinance. If approved, it would be ordinance number 2522-2021A.
Mayor, I move to approve the appropriation ordinance number 2522-2021A.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a second by Commissioner Dick. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Item 10A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance rezoning a property from I-3 Heavy Industrial County to I-3 Heavy Industrial City for the property generally located at 110 South Jenny Barker Road, Garden City, Kansas. And if approved, this would be ordinance number?
2887-2021.
Carol?
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Hello.
Commissioners. This first rezone, we've got a series of 3 rezones here. This first one is for the Empirical Foods Incorporated. As you know, they are putting in their new facility on Jenny Barker Road, South Jenny Barker Road. They have gone through the process. The rezoning should have taken place a long time ago. However, they were acquiring a few little remnant pieces, and we were just waiting for all of that to be complete and for the plat to be approved. And so we bring the final rezone request. There really isn't a change other than it's going from the county to the city. It's still staying industrial, heavy industrial. The comprehensive plan does show this as heavy industrial. We did bring this before the planning commission in December, and they did not have any concerns. All of them recommended approval of this rezone request. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we approve ordinance 2887-2021A, or 2021, sorry.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Unruh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a second by Commissioner Euler. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Item 10B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance rezoning property from Agriculture District to R1 Single Family Residential District for property generally located south of Sunset Memorial Gardens on the west side of South Towns Road.
And what would be the ordinance number on?
Oh, if
that
approved, this would be ordinance number 2888-2021.
Okay. For this ordinance, or for this rezone request, it is going, the applicant's requesting to go from ag to R1, which is single-family residential. This was in the county. It is now part of the city. And so this is the formal process to get that zone changed. We are just under 60 acres for this property. The applicants would like to create the Sunset Terrace Estates subdivision with the first phase holding about 55 lots. The second phase will be 54 lots. And this is the request. We're starting out with the rezone. We will bring a plat along with an RHID proposal later on this year. This was presented to the planning commissioners in December. There were some comments from the public. Most of the comments came from residents of the Towns Riverview subdivision. They were concerned about safety, traffic, water, sewer were their main concerns. I believe as staff we were able to address their concerns. Actually, their concerns really are dealing with the plat and not necessarily the rezone, but since it was a public hearing, we did kind of work with them. The applicant was there, the surveyor that drew up the plat was there, and so we believe we came to a consensus with them, and they felt satisfied with that. But other than that, it was recommended for approval, seeing that the concerns were satisfied. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to help you.
Is there any infrastructure out there?
Right now, the Towns Riverview, they do use our sewer and water. And so to put in this new subdivision, they're going to have to beef up the system. For the sewer, there are a certain amount of homes they can put in without beefing it up that the system can handle. But beyond that, they will have to beef it up. Obviously, we will need to put in the roads, the electric, all of that will need to go in. The applicant is required to do a traffic study on this because it will be increasing the traffic quite a bit on Counts Road
Mhm.
onto the highway, so we have not received that back yet, so we're still working on that.
So Carol, will this be an RHID? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay, so then they'll be able to be reimbursed for a lot of those improvements,
Correct.
the roads and the electric, okay.
Entertain a motion for this ordinance.
I move that we approve ordinance 2888-2021.
Commissioner Dick made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Ortiz made the second. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Item 10C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance rezoning property from LR, Low Density Residential District in the county, to R1, Single Family Residential for property generally located at Jenny Barker Road and Mary Street in Garden City, Kansas. If approved, this would be ordinance number 2889-2021.
Very good, thank you, Matt. Okay, this final rezone request is for Chapel Heights 4, the fourth part of the Chapel Heights subdivision, and they are requesting to go from LR, which is a county designation, to R1, which is single family, once again. They do propose to put in, just so you know, this will also be part of the RHAD program. Their plans are to put in 49 lots, single-family lots in this fourth subdivision. We're still working with the applicants on the plating process and the infrastructure plans. But we're okay to go with the rezoning at this point. This was brought before the planning commission. There were not any concerns that were brought up. Planning commission recommends approval, staff does recommend approval as well. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Has there been any studies as far as like safety? Would there be a road? Because I know like fire, if there was one, has there been any study on what the time frame would be to get to that area?
We have looked into that. That has come up quite a few times during our reviews of the plating process. There was originally Chapel Heights Drive was supposed to connect into Jenny Barker. The applicants have decided not to do that at this point. However, they've added 3 entrances off of Mary Street, so
Okay.
that satisfies the fire concern. There will be a little bit longer of a time for the fire to get there because they'll have to go all the way up and around. However, at this point, the fire is coming from Mary Street, so it's actually not that much further.
Yeah.
It will add a little bit of time in the end when we put in our new fire station. Fire station number 3, it still will add a little bit extra time, but it's not significant enough to warrant them requiring a road in there.
Yeah, I would move that we approve ordinance 2889-2021.
Commissioner Unruh made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Euler seconded the motion. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Old business 11A, the governing body is asked to consider extending or allowing to expire ordinance 2884-2020, which required the wearing of face coverings in the city of Garden City. At the November 17th, 2020 regular meeting, the governing body approved ordinance number 2884-2020, requiring face coverings in the city of Garden City. The ordinance was designed to expire in 30 days or to be extended for an additional 30 days by a majority vote of the governing body prior to expiration. Finney County Board of Commissioners adopted Resolution 2020-07 on November 23rd, 2020. This resolution does not currently apply within the city limits of Garden City because Garden City has a face covering ordinance. Were the governing body to allow the ordinance to end, a reasonable interpretation in December would have been that Finney County Resolution 2020-07 would become effective in Garden City through December 31st or longer if extended by Finney County Board of Commissioners. Finney County's resolution is nearly identical to the city's ordinance as far as substantive provisions. The city's ordinance has an exemption for first responders engaged in the performance of their duties. The county's resolution did not have that exemption. The county's resolution did not apply to K through 12 public or private school buildings and facilities. The city's did. Finally, the county's resolution leaves enforcement up to the Finney County Attorney or the Kansas Attorney General, and there's no stated penalty section. So the city's had an ordinance and a penalty section with designated fines. The city's Community Health Advisory Board voted at the December 8th, 2020 meeting to recommend the City Commission extend the face covering requirement an additional 30 days. On December 15th, the City Commission approved by a 3-2 vote extending an additional 30 days Ordinance 2884-2020. As of the writing of this agenda item, in cover page, which was on December 31st, the Finney County Commission had not taken action extending Finney County Resolution 2020-07, nor had they considered a replacement face covering resolution. There were 3 weeks between the last meeting in December and the first meeting in January. That's why the governing body is again being asked in consecutive meetings to consider approving a 30-day extension to Ordinance 2884-2020 or allowing it to expire. If the extension is approved, the item would again be placed on the City Commission's February 2nd, 2021 regular meeting agenda. Your choices are to approve the extension or to not approve the extension.
And I do have a couple of questions. I'm so curious. I mean, I've been looking at the COVID dashboard and those kind of things. I'm curious about how widespread, and I did put a call in yesterday, but I didn't get a call back about how many people have been vaccinated and what their vaccine. They just did the rollout, and I did get a chance to review that on the Facebook, the rollout and how that, because that's going to play into future decision for me how widespread the vaccine, is doing. I will say also, I don't know. I don't think the penalty section is really. I don't know that penalty section and the designated fines are necessary. I think more of it's a suggestion from the City Commission. I don't know if we can amend that. I mean, I would like to get rid of that if we continue to approve the ordinance. But so those are a couple of my comments, but I don't know about the vaccine rollout, and I'm sorry, I should have asked to have someone here to review that because I didn't. But
I know the county touched on it a little bit at the county commission meeting, but the audio was pretty hard to hear what was going on, so
and I had to leave before.
yeah. I know that we are getting some, and there's different avenues. There's the health department, there's St. Catherine, Genesis, and Walgreens, I believe, are all 4 different avenues. There might be more than that.
I will say, I really want the kids to go back to school. I mean, I know they're all looking forward to seeing their friends and being in person in school, and so I hate that this comes up every 30 days. I think it's a tough decision, but I mean, I would love to see us get our kids back into school at least, and then see how it goes, especially over the holidays. And so I'm leaning toward another 30 days. But again, that decision going forward is really going to depend for me on the vaccine rollout and then how our numbers look.
Well, kids are back in school today
Oh, are they really?
for instruction. Yeah, we started today, so.
Oh, congratulations, everybody.
Just remind everybody that the school zones are active, so
Right.
please slow down because
Yeah.
we want to
Those
get
are
our
expensive.
kids to and from school in a safe manner.
Those are
Start on that.
expensive,
But the school district is back in school and face-to-face instruction, which started today. Yeah, I know there was discussion, and I know the county didn't bring it up, and they were going to, I know there was some discussion, they were going to watch to see what we did on this item, and I thought that was, I didn't know we were going to take, the city
Lead.
commission was going to take the lead on this, but,
Right. I will say, if you look at the number of active cases since there's been a mandate, and when you'd expect to see that mandate to start to take an effect on the active cases, we have seen a dramatic decrease. Again, there's multiple things going on at once. I mean,
Right.
we have schools doing their thing, and so you can't just say it's this one thing.
Sure.
But since when we'd expect to see a decrease because of the mask ordinance, we have seen a decrease in number of active cases.
Yeah, and I think even anecdotally, if you go to the stores, you can see that there are more people wearing masks and there are more people who are watching their distance. And I don't know about if they're washing their hands or not. I don't pay attention to that part all the time. But I do know that it is nice to see the numbers going down. And again, I mean, you could argue, yes, the mandate's working, or you could argue that people are just more aware and actually using the masks more. And so I think it comes down to, you know, at what point do we want to see, you know, where do we want to see the numbers be?
Well, and my concern with COVID is that, you know, it impacts people so differently. I mean, again, it's a lot, what we don't know what we don't know. And so, you know, in the same household, somebody could get a very mild case of COVID and have nothing, and then someone end up in the hospital or in ICU. And so it's, yeah, it's a hard thing to gauge. But I thank you, Mayor, that, again, us taking the lead, and I think at some point, you know, I mean, with the county commission, this is really, I mean, with their health department, I'm hoping that they, you know, they begin to also help take some of that lead too, so.
I think also it helps the businesses maybe regulate that a little bit more too, knowing that there is a mask mandate. It helps them, you know, kind of, you know, if somebody's coming in, they have something that they can pinpoint and talk about, or at least, you know, say, well, there's this mandate in place.
Anybody from the public, from the audience, comment? Okay. So what would the commission like to do on this item?
Well, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve a 3rd-day extension to ordinance 2884-2020.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Dick. Is there a second on this item?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Unruh. Is there any other discussion on this item? All in favor of the item, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay? Nay. That passed, 3-2 vote.
Item 12A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a fee model for Garden Rapids. Jennifer?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. We talked briefly about this issue at our last meeting, and this is a little bit more in depth, and I hope will provide answers to all of the questions that you might potentially have on this issue. I'm going to run through a couple of specifics that you need to understand. The first is a couple of the changes that we made from what you saw at your last meeting to today's meeting. One of those things is we reduced the expenses that we show in our actual budget to $444,000, which is about a $51,000 reduction. Most of that was because when the consultants built this out, they built it out in one particular model for expenses, and some of the expenses that they put together for us, like contract work and advertising, some of those line items were much larger than we would typically use or ever have. And I wanted it to be as realistic as possible. So we actually went through and used our line items in our budget and created an actual budget. So we changed that. We removed the variations from between child, adult, and senior. We just completely got rid of those. We also eliminated that then eliminated the 5-4-3 model, so we just have straight models all the way across that are one even amount. We showed the debt service in the new numbers, which we didn't show previously, and we also showed the previous revenue and expense for the big pool, just so in your mind you could kind of have a comparison of those two things. Then, in order to get to these numbers, what I showed you previously, the consultants really made assumptions across the board, and they made assumptions that didn't change no matter what your model was. So whether you charged $5 for everyone or $2 for everyone, they assumed people, the same number of people would attend, the same number of people would buy punch classes, the same number of people would buy season classes, and they would spend the exact same on concessions. Staff understands, as well as you all probably understand, that's not accurate. But when we were here last time, what we were trying to do is get the conversation started. So what we did is then we sat down and tried to come up with what is the best assumptions that we can make in this particular situation based on what we know from other venues that have opened in similar sized communities. So, we're assuming that we're gonna have an 86-day season. We are going to assume that as you decrease the price for daily admission from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2, that you would see an increase in those that attend the facility. What the percentage could be is debatable and range anywhere from 5 to 10% according to the consultants, and therefore we just used a 10% increase. In addition, we made the determination that for every dollar that we reduce the admission price, we would see someone spend 20 more cents on concessions. They assume a model of $1.70 per person who comes through the facility. That's assuming that I may take my kid and spend $5, and Deb, you may take your grandchild and spend $1. It just, every person could be different, and they are averaging that out at about $1.70. We figure the lower you put admissions, if mom comes in and pays, uses a $10 bill to get her and the child in, the more they have left over, the more they're gonna spend on concessions likely. So we didn't wanna overdo that. We didn't wanna overinflate concessions, so we used a 20-cent increase, knowing that there is no item in the concession stand that is 20 cents. So we are likely going to see a larger increase than that, but all we wanted to do was to show from model to model that should grow. And then the last thing that we assume is that the majority of the people purchasing admission into the facility would be by daily admissions. And that is just shown in the way it all breaks out, because a season pass person isn't going to go probably every day. A punch pass is going to be obviously spread out as well. So we foresee that infrequent users, or out-of-town users, or regional users, those types of people are going to be the ones that buy a daily admission, that are here in town or coming to town and they just pay the daily rate and go on about it. We suspect that people who buy punch passes are going to be those who don't always take the same family members, maybe have grandkids that come in and they can use different people, churches, schools, daycares, whatever it may be. Then they could take a 20-person punch or a 20-punch pass, and it could be interchangeable with whoever they wanted to take on any given day. And then we have the season pass, and that's going to be for families or people who are going to use the facility at least 5 times per week. That could be for exercise. That could be for families who say, the facility is open every night until 8 o'clock. We can rush home, we can eat a quick dinner, and we can go spend an hour at the facility before bedtime. So we foresee those types of people are going to be the ones that then choose the season passes, because economically then it brings that price down for them. So those are some of the assumptions that we made in this breakout. And in doing this, I will tell you, under the $5 model, the $4 model, and the $3 model, between revenue and expenses, we actually come out in the black. At the $2 model, we come out in the red by about 110 daily admissions, if you just use just the straight daily admissions. To provide some additional context, you can see that at a $5 model, we are assuming on average that we will have 651 people through the door. At the $2 admission model, we're assuming about 890 people through the door. In comparison, so that you understand, looking at the numbers for Long Branch, they averaged about 1,000, a little more than 1,000. I used 1,000 because I wanted to be safe. About 1,000 people per day. And that's averaged over closures for weather, partial days because of weather. Sometimes pools have issues where they have to close because of uncleanly water, or staff shortages, they have to open later. There's all kinds of things that happen, but that on average is what they saw through their door at a $5-7 model. So I wanted to provide that because I think in relevant terms to what we're doing, they opened their facility in 2015. So just 5-6 years ago. And so those numbers are pretty relevant to what we're doing today. The last piece of this memo, and maybe not as crucial in this very moment, but something that you all need to be thinking about, is if we do hit that 1,000-person or even 1,200-person a day number, we do have an 1,800 capacity facility, but if we do see those big numbers, there's going to be an excess of revenue over expenses. And dictating where you want that to go, whether 100% of that goes to debt service 100% goes back into the general fund, 100% goes into a fund for future expansions or additions, capital, a CIP essentially especially for the pool, or some variation of those things. We're gonna start planning the coming budgets after 2021 here shortly, here in February. And so knowing that and having that information about what your expectations are for that is gonna be really important. So we wanted to include that. As you go to the models, you'll see that all of the assumptions that I tell you about and all of the information that I give you is all laid out there. You'll see the daily passes, the punch passes, and the annual passes broke out by the number of people who we think are gonna come in each day on each one of those. Those are just averages. We can't know for sure what that looks like until we get started. But we did play those out in each one of the scenarios. And then also included in your packet, you would have had expenses. And the very last page, it's kind of a comparison of each category, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It compares, you can kind of look across the board, the daily, the punch, the season, and then it also, on the bottom of that model, compares the concession. And then below explains the concession model that we worked with to get there. I am happy to answer any questions you have. I'm happy to talk about any other concerns or thoughts you have about setting a fee model for this facility.
So Jennifer, when you talked to other pools, so when they're excess, did they at capacity, or was that 1,000? Because I know Long Branch, which I appreciate you including it in. So I'm curious about what they did with the additional dollars that they didn't plan on, because I know that theirs was a star bond, or I'm not sure if it was or not, but what did they do with their additional dollars?
So every facility is obviously different. Some of the facilities actually go in and say, we're going to allot a certain amount in our budget. So when we're planning 2021, 2022, 2023, we don't care how much we make. We're gonna put, in our budget line item, we're gonna put $75,000. Even if that puts our expenses over our revenue, we're gonna allot that to go towards capital projects for the pool. What we did in our budget is we included $25,000. That $25,000 is not for future projects, it's not for capital type expenditures at the facility. It is for ongoing maintenance, because as you are all aware, we will have things that need to be fixed, we will have things that need to be changed out, and we felt like in speaking with the consultants that $25,000 was a good number. So that is what that is in there for, and it is protected for that purpose. Anything above and beyond, you would have to decide it. So some facilities set that out beforehand. Some facilities are set up like Long Range that are part of a star bond and include more than one project. And so those go back into that, and they're using it across all of the projects together. The consultants did say that this is one of the areas that a lot of facilities tend to fail, in that they don't plan for future changes. And then after 3 to 5 years, the newness starts to wear off, and your attendance goes from, on average, 1,000 people a day to maybe 600 people a day. And although that doesn't seem, that's still a lot more than we were getting before, they use that as a driver to add a $300,000 new slide, or whatever it may be, that could drive. Maybe it's a shaded play structure inside. Maybe it's something else that's not necessarily even water related. But the consultant said that a lot of the venues don't plan that out well for the future. So that's something that they did suggest that we consider as we move forward.
I will say I know that we've had an experience in our own community where you set prices so high that it's really hard to lower them. So, I mean, I'm inclined to rather start with a lower price, and then if we need to raise that based on, either the operating of the pool, and so, I mean, I thought $5 was a good, but I'd like to start at $3 is what I'm kind of leaning toward, and then, we can always increase that, but it's something that I was interested in, and I love that all the assumptions, that it was very well laid out, thank you, so.
Will there be opportunities for like the school district or some of the employers to maybe get, like for the students that can't afford to pay whatever the fee structure is that we set, to have passes or to be able to get some kind of a subsidy?
So that question is a little bit complicated, and I'm not sure I have a full answer for you. The school district is probably not one that's going to actually purchase passes. I mean, I can't foresee that they would do that, or that their funds would be available for that. However, and it probably would not include free and reduced, but maybe free lunch. We might be able to look at doing something for those. One of the things that Matt and I threw around was, could we find find local business owners that might sponsor a certain number of punch passes each season, and we could give them out on a first come, first served basis to the free lunch kids, if we could get that information. We work with the school district to kind of facilitate that. We, just giving those out in general without any price at all, obviously becomes somewhat of a problem, because then that's completely lost
Right,
revenue.
right. I'm
And
thinking of
so-
discount, I'm not thinking free, but,
Yeah, so at for instance, if you go to the, just looking at the $3 model, just because that's what Commissioner Emmer stated, so I'll just use that one as an example. The punch passes work out to $2.40 a day, and the annual pass works out to $1.25 if you use it 5 times a week. So those are really affordable prices for our community. When we went around and talked to people at the schools, to all of the kids and to all of the families in the community sessions, what I was hearing from them is that $3 to $4 was really a maxed out price for them. That was something that they would struggle to go beyond that if they had a family of 5 or 6. I don't think that applies to everyone, because then at other junctures, I heard numbers like, well, as long as it's less than whatever Dodge is charging, or, whatever, I heard a lot of different things, but I think the prices you have here, this 5, 4, 3, 2, or 2, I think any of them fall into a realm that I heard that would be feasible for people in our community. And I think that even when you look at the breakout of the punch passes, the deepest discount to the punch passes and to the annual passes is on the $5 model. You see that the punch passes go to $3 and the annual pass goes to $2. I know those aren't lower than they are at the lowest level, but the discount between the top and the bottom is the largest. So we tried to make this as feasible as possible we want everybody out there. I want everybody in Garden City to come out and enjoy this, because this is theirs. They invested the time and the effort into this project as much as we did from staff and commission perspective, and we want them out there using it as many days as possible.
well, and $5 is still, I'm at the $4 and $5, that's kind of where I'm landing, but, because it's still reasonable, and it's still less than the area, the area towns and what they charge, and so I think I'm just excited that $5 is even in the ballpark, so.
Because I thought they were going to suggest $8 or something, so yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I can make people happy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna throw out one more little curveball. When I went through and I did this calculations myself, and it's very similar to what Jennifer did, but when I was looking at the stuff, I did a 30-cent for every $1 we reduce admission, we regain 30 cents back instead of the 20 cents back. And if you do that, and it's really interesting math to go through, the model that makes us the most amount of revenue under that is a $1 ticket. Because we can have people come in, the attendance will be enough, and the amount that we'll recapture from the concessions, that number is the one that would be the one where we make the most revenue from the pool under all the other assumptions that we've seen here. And so if there's a number between 20 cents and 30 cents, and what is that number gonna be? The other thing I wanna consider is we're talking about what is the burden to an individual to be able to achieve that number. So if we're talking about a $5 ticket, and the burden to an individual to be able to get to that number that we're talking about here is $6.70. That's the concession that we're assuming and the ticket that we're assuming. If we're talking about a $2 ticket, that burden is $4.30. If it's a $1 ticket, that's a $3.50. And for the most part, the amount of revenue there is about the same no matter what it is. So we are able to reduce the burden to individuals to go there, while the revenue looks like it will be essentially flat, or depending on how concessions say, like if we do 30 cents a transaction increase instead of a 20 cents transaction increase per dollar decrease, we actually might be making the most revenue with the cheapest tickets. If you do the math, you go to zero, we do lose money there overall compared to the other ones. But the $1 ticket does look like the best one. And the amount that you're increasing is like you said, it'll be like up to about 1,000 a day, a little bit under 1,000 a day, which is still under what you would assume. I don't know if that's a long-term sustainable number, but if we're talking about something that we can get the community excited about, and we can get the people from Lamar excited about, and the people from North Platte excited about, a summer of $1 tickets, and at the same time, that might be the one where we make the most revenue anyway. That's kind of where I'm at, because the burden that's the price that we have families that, all of those kids, those 3 kids or those 4 kids in the family can't afford to go every single day. And if we listen to what the people who love the big pool, when they said, I remember when I was a kid growing up, we went there every single day. The price that will make that happen is on the low end. It's not a $5 ticket. So that's kind of where I'm looking at, and I am adding one layer of extra assumptions that if we do a 30 cent instead of 20 cent, then it actually is the positive number. But that's kind of where I'm coming out with my thoughts.
Thank you for giving a shout out to my hometown.
Which one?
Lamar.
Lamar?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
They'll be here in droves.
I'm gonna, yeah,
Commissioner Ortiz.
I'm gonna give a shout out to my hometown of Deerfield, because that's the kind of math that I did on my paperwork, so. Big city Deerfield, here we go. So, yeah, no, I appreciate everything as far as what you gotten together, the $3, 4, and 5. I know a lot of work has been put into this, and originally I was for the $5 amount, and I know it was more for the fact that, you know, we were still under the surrounding areas with water parks, you know, Dodge City's 7, Hayes is 6 or 7, and, you know, Liberal's still about 5, so. And then I got to thinking, when I was a kid, I was at the pool like 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was free, and then as I got older, then it started the $1. And actually, a funny story, I did tell somebody this in a car, but when it was free, pickle juice was also free. And so, because they threw the pickle juice away.
It's 25 cents now.
It's 25 cents. And I think I ruined that for everybody, because I was going up to the concession stand and asking for the pickle juice. Well, the next time I went up, they said it's 10 cents because they got to charge for the cup. So, and you call them pickle pops. Anyway, so the fact that, like, when I grew up in a family of 13, so there was a lot of us. And, you know, and my family now we're 6. We've got 6 people in the house. So you kind of got to start, you know, thinking about what we could afford when I was younger. And, you know, we're very fortunate of the jobs that we have now. Garden City has been a blessing to our family, and we've been able to and capable to hold our jobs. So we're fortunate in that way. But there is still a lot of families who are coming from where I came from. And so I'm leaning more towards the $3 amount. In my math, I took it times or divided by 7 days a week, and for 90 cents a day, that's doable. So I think if we looked at that, and I wasn't taking into consideration the revenue and things in part where we would gain more money, because I think it's more about getting people and family there. Just, you know, and Jennifer, I appreciate your, you know, that's what your goals are, and that's kind of what you put in the forefront for this to happen and to gain these, or to get these numbers. So I'm looking at the $3, but I did have a question on, so you said you got rid of the adults and then kids.
We did. It's just going to be everybody at the same rate.
Okay, so including the kid would be $77 annual fee.
Yeah, so the single, and I should have changed that. That's my mistake. I didn't even notice that until
It'd just be
I'm
person.
looking at this, but it should just be person.
Okay.
So the annual pass, and then what you'll see is under the annual passes where it says adult, that should be person. And every person that bought an individual pass. So if you were going to go out, you were just going to buy individual passes, let's say for 2 of your kids, then you would have 77 each. The family pass we have includes 4 passes. So meaning, for like instance, in your family, you buy a family pass plus 2 because you have 6 people total. Or maybe you only want to buy them for your 4 kids, and so, you know, maybe you can do the family pass of 4 for them. So there's a couple of options there to play around with. Thanks to the rec being on board, our ability to create season passes and our ability to do that quickly and more efficiently is so much easier than it was for the city manager's office to do that. So we're excited about that as well.
Jennifer, I want to make sure, will there be an opportunity, because I know a lot of people carry only debit cards or credit cards, will there be the ability to pay like that at the concession stand? And also just in the admission? Because I know a lot of people don't carry cash, so.
So it is on my list of things for Aaron and I as we transition. In January here, we'll be finalizing all of our equipment, we'll be ordering all of the final stuff for the pool. And maybe he's gonna jump in and say something.
Oh, okay. Yes.
There you go.
A man of few words.
Yeah,
Is there a Y at the end of that question?
I know. Well, and I think too, offering, for different workplaces, the ability to do payroll deduction so that,
Yeah, that's a good
I mean,
idea.
that eliminates, a lot of that too, and would certainly, I think, benefit a lot of families as well.
I do also want to comment on when you talk about for future expansion or additions, I know that slides and things wear out. I mean, our slides, the last year the big pool was open, they were really, really in bad shape. And so, I mean, not putting back money to buy like the Ninja course if it's affordable in this time. But, there's some other things that, to keep the pool being new and fresh and like, again, keeping people coming and, hey, something new this year. I knew that's with the Aqua Glide is something, that was totally, people love that. And so yeah, I'd rather see us put the money back, especially these first several years. And then if it gets ridiculous amount in that, then begin to say, hey, let's do some debt service or something else with that. So.
So Commissioner, just so I make sure I understand what you said, you're saying that you would like us to take any additional revenue over expenses and use that as a separate CIP fund for the Garden Rapids?
At least for this first year, and then I
Okay.
think every year evaluate,
I
hey,
just
is
wanna
that the
make sure I
right
understand.
decision? But I think we have this year to capture a lot of things in that we could put away and maybe grow, so.
I think
I would
attendance
agree
will
with
be
that.
up this year too.
Yeah.
Yep, this would be a good year to do it.
I was more at the $5 model just because of the debt service, because between the $5 and the $3, we have to subsidize the pool between if you counteract the two, I mean, it's 863,000 at the $5 model, and it's 876,000 at the $3 model. So there's between the two, it's like $180,000 difference. But between what we were doing with Big Pool and what we'll do with the Garden Rapids. That was my only concern, because I know there's been comments from the community that, we build it and then, we're gonna raise people's taxes in the community to offset the cost for this, and that was my concern on this. So that's where I'm at on the $5, because we're actually at or below what the other communities are charging for similar, or actually our pool is going to actually have more slides and more attractions than the other pools are in the area. The other thing, which I was looking at, and if we did generate more revenue, if we brought in more people, I was looking at a hybrid model of trying to pay down the service debt as well as build a fund to the side so we could start working on having a reserve, so then later on, if we need to add a new slide or a new attraction, we'd have that in the future. As those are my comments.
Well, I think the debt service one, though, I think it's an important point. I mean, which is kind of why I was stuck around the $4, because you could still achieve that. I mean, you could still, I was under the assumption too that if you go to the $4, you're gonna obviously get more people that would come in because you're lowering that price a little bit too. And you'd still achieve the goal of your revenue, plus then being able to pay down that debt service too.
I would be okay with the hybrid model. Would rather most of it go toward, that. Again, I think, Jennifer's talked about where most pools fail is that they fail to plan for the future.
Yeah.
And so, failing to plan is planning to fail. And I'd rather this facility keep up rather than how we infused the big pool so many different times with millions of dollars, and really it made some difference, but we really never saw a big jump in attendance. Debt service is important to me also. I mean, I think that debt service could be something, if we did the hybrid model, that we could pay back some of that. I would recommend building the fund and then maybe some of the debt service. But I'm still kind of at that $3 level. Commissioner Dick makes a very compelling case for $1, because I also remember when it was free, and then, because it was the world's largest free concrete swimming pool. It wasn't the world's largest concrete swimming pool. It was when you added the free word, then we actually came on the map. So, but I'm still kind of stuck at that $3 level. So I I love your compelling argument with the dollar. I think that is kind of neat, and it would bring a lot of people, so.
But
I know-
again, too, go ahead.
Well, and I was gonna say too, like with the $5, and the other reason why I was thinking $5 is because it was an even number as well, but
Mhm.
you're gonna send 2 kids to the pool with $10 because they're gonna wanna go to the concession.
And then no concessions.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And that's,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
also getting at, is with one, there's gonna be the number of money that goes into that pool. It's either gonna be $5 tickets and you get 2 admissions and 0 concessions, or $1, or in between, $1 tickets, $2 and $8 in concessions. The difference is how often they can go, and what are they getting from that experience? If they're each getting $4 worth of concession, that's potentially, I don't know how nutritious your concessions are, but I mean, potentially that's a lunch or a good start
Yeah,
to
it is.
a snack.
At least a refreshment,
Right.
besides
The
the
pickle
water.
pops are
Well, but then,
nutritious.
I mean, then you start breaking it down for, if you look at the passes, then,
Mhm.
I mean, it works itself out. And if you go daily if you get a daily pass, and, I think Commissioner Euler mentioned, did you say payroll?
Yes.
Talking
Payroll.
about payroll, you could do that, and then, most of our employers in town, not all, but a majority of our employers have payroll deduction of some sort that we could probably get them to sign up through payroll deduction to purchase a pass. So I don't want to undercut, where we're at with the surrounding communities. I understand we want to keep it affordable, but I see $5 as for what we're providing to the community and surrounding area. I see a $5 model. I could, either way. I'm happy with 5, but if we do less, well, I can support that as well. But
Well,
I just see that if we have any additional revenue from that, it should go towards lowering the debt service as well as building a fund, because I agree with you that in the future, our decisions now dictate what happens in the future. And that's what happened with the big pool. There wasn't any reserve, and we kept
Right.
pouring more capital into it, and it just kept going. Well, it was a close to 100-year-old pool too, but the attractions weren't there, and we didn't have, we weren't attracting people. So
so
that's my.
I just one other question. So Jennifer, going forward, so if we set the fee this year, going forward, will that be a discussion that the staff will have and bring back figures and say, hey, this is what we're going to need to do the fees at? Or, oh my gosh, we had the most incredible year, we could afford to lower, or let's keep it level, or we're going to raise that? Whose decision will that become in the future? So I'm just curious.
Well, so we can do it pretty much any way we want. You guys get to be the dictators of that. But what I will say is part of the reason, for the most part, the fees and the way that they're set up, it's something that staff usually works on and develops and then brings before you as an entire thing. This to me was something that was a policy decision. This is something that the commission has to decide as to how they foresee us operating this facility in terms of the dollars that we bring through the door and how we bring those, whether it be admissions, concessions, passes, punches, whatever it may be. And so, Aaron and I talked previously, what does this look like? One of the things he suggested is like a range model, a range fee where the commission's, let's just use an example, if you set 3 and you said, the commission's flexible over the next 3 years, that could move to 4 without coming back before us, if staff saw fit. But I think this type of facility, the pool in general, I think it's different than baseball, volleyball, or all of those things put together. I really feel like this is something that this commission took on, and although staff is going to take very good care of it for you, I think that you need to continue to be involved and continue to have these conversations to keep your constituents aware and the citizens aware of what we're talking about and how and why we're making the decisions we make. It's a lot easier for them to understand if they know why. My expectation would be at the end of the season, 2021 season, just like every other year that we've had the pool, you guys get a full update. What do revenue look like? What do the expenses look like? How many days did we have? How did our assumptions flesh out in reality? What did we do with those funds? How were we able to use them? And then how do we want to attack 2022? And you had those conversations early, October, November, December, ahead of budgeting season, and then it gives staff the opportunity to continue to work through those. So,
And here's my thing, is if we start at, if we start low and then start raising the price, people will come back and go, oh, great, here they go again. If we start at 5 and they come back and we can always lower the price and everybody will say, I'd hate to turn it backwards, because then it's like, oh, it's too successful, and so we start raising the price up, and then it's like, then we're starting to block people out of the pool.
But that didn't work for Parrot Cove. They started so high that they priced so many people out.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's just the opposite.
I think the word gets out quicker if it's a
Yeah.
lower fee, and then
If it's
everybody
low,
finds out.
You can afford to raise, but if it's not, and they're raising, you can justify raising but all of a sudden, we charge you so much, you owe me too much money. I mean, to me, that doesn't sell as well as, now, if it all went, for we were saving and debt servicing, yeah, I can see that. And I'm not saying 5 is unreasonable, I'm not. I'm just saying, thinking about our community and making the most, attendance, I'm still stuck at I can't go to the 1, I just can't, but I mean, the $3, I mean, I could go, I could go $1 above or $1 below, but I'm just, it's.
Would there be, for babies, 0 to 2, would they be still having to pay that price, or would they?
the way we have this set is for everyone.
Okay.
Whether you are a grandma or grandpa or spectator, babysitter
Okay.
that's sitting on the side that is just observing, or whether you are a 1-year-old who's gonna splash in the water. We have to have a lifeguard to pay attention to that body. And if we're paying staff to be there, we thought if we were gonna eliminate the difference between the models, just eliminate it altogether, then when people are coming in, they count the number of bodies, and
It's done.
it's done.
Gotcha.
So, one thing, when I talk about $1, I just want that for this one season, and then we reevaluate
Right.
and set it.
Yeah.
But why can't you do $1? What is the barrier, especially if, and again, you're gonna have to trust me on my math that nobody else has shown you. But if I can show you that, right, because that number isn't up there.
Yeah.
But if I can say that there's a compelling argument that that's where we will make the most revenue, what is the barrier to that $1 for one season?
I mean, the most revenue is a compelling argument. It really is. I agree. But,
I don't know,
I mean,
$1
was it-
makes me nervous.
yeah, it does me too.
I mean, wasn't the pool last year, was it $2?
$2.
I mean,
In 2019.
yeah, well,
Right.
Yeah,
right,
right.
Yeah,
last
not
time.
last year.
Yeah.
It
last year was open.
yeah, yes, yeah, last year.
I mean, so then this is a new facility, I'm having a hard time going to $1, but,
But that's what I'm saying. If you don't
Yeah.
take the math as, the burden to the population is the least. The potential for revenue is generally even or possibly higher. The only thing we have is there's going to be too many people that take advantage of it, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I
I guess you'd have to top it out at what, that's.
1,800.
how many events are we scheduled for?
We just finished the calendar. I think it was presented at your last meeting.
Right.
Aaron can maybe tell you. I don't know if he can tell you how many.
So generally speaking, we're gonna have an event, kind of like a sanctioned event, every Friday, except for the 4th Friday of the month. We expect to have swim meet, at least one. And then we're gonna mix in some celebratory days, like Memorial Day, doing a barbecue, and just some of those that run during operations. That way, just to celebrate the day and
Right.
obviously to entice people to come out and enjoy the pool. So, if I was to roughly guess, it's 12 to 15 of those throughout the year.
And so all of those events will be charged at the door?
So things like Memorial Day would be the standard entrance fee that are gonna happen while we're during normal operations. Where other fees that would come in that are not on there is rentals. And then we probably would just do another admission for things like flick and float or adult night or kids night. We would probably just, and especially on the flick and float, because that has to do with movies and paying for rights to show the movie.
right, yeah.
Adult night, youth night, that may be a different fee. But again, kind of what's in my head is right around that $5 mark.
And so the poodle swim, is that charging for the animals to get into?
Well, we were hoping to charge only the animal.
Okay.
And
Well,
that way the owner gets in free.
I mean, there's still some cleaning involved there too, so.
I guess we probably ought to make a rule of no drop-offs.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
No, we would obviously just do the entrance fee for the owner, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve the $5 model as presented. Is there a second? Okay, lack of a second. Entertain another motion.
I
I
make a
think-
motion that we deny all the fee models provided and do I just lost my thing here. Approve a $1 fee model just for the 2021 swimming season.
There's been a motion to deny all the fee models provided and give a $1 fee for the 2021 season. Is there a second on that motion? That motion dies for lack of a second.
I move
What-
that we approve a $3 fee model. And also with directing the staff to use some type of a breakout for the debt reduction and also for future expansion in addition to the pool.
So there's been a motion to approve the $3 fee model with the excess revenue going towards debt service reduction and a hybrid and future expansion of the pool and additions. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
By Commissioner Unruh. There was a second by Commissioner Euler. Any discussion on that item? Any additional discussion on the item? For the $3 model with the debt service for additional funds going to debt service as well as future funds for expansion and additions.
Do you feel that's a affordable amount for a weekly trip when you're talking about your family or people from Deerfield or something like that?
I think yes, I do think it would be a feasible option for a bigger family.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Nay. Item passed 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jennifer. Item 12B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve case to fill the remainder of a vacant term on the Parks and Tree Advisory Board. Mike? Maybe not, no?
You might.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Happy New Year. This is the transition between me and Aaron, so this will be the last time I'll be presenting something for the Parks and Tree Board, but Ann Case is requesting the governing body's consideration to complete an open board position on the Parks and Tree Board, which was vacated by Lindsay Burns when she resigned on November 19th from that Parks and Tree Board due to just the fact that she's extremely busy, and that certainly was understandable. Ann has previously served 1 term on the Parks and Tree Board, and her term expired on December 31st of 2020. And she's been an active member and is eligible to serve out the remaining term that was vacated by Lindsay. So your alternatives would be to appoint Ann Case to serve the remaining term on the Parks and Tree Board expiring December 31st of 2022, or you do not make the appointment and you direct staff to solicit other interest. And we have no recommendation.
I would move that we appoint Ann Case to fill the remainder of the vacant term on the Parks and Tree Board.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Unruh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second by Commissioner Ortiz. Any other discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve one appointment to the Local Housing Authority Board. Yeah?
We've been down to 4 members since August. HUD requires that we reserve a position for a resident board member. I put out for that, and no one applied. So because of that, we've been looking to the outside for a 5th member. Ashley was the first one that we received that was able to make her schedule work with our regular scheduled meeting. We had a few last year that applied, but they weren't able to do that. So I just simply ask that you approve Ashley to fill our 5th board member position, please.
Entertain a motion on this item.
Mayor, I move to appoint Ashley Lee to a 3-year term beginning January 2021.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Euler, second by Commissioner Dick. Any discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That item passed.
Item 12D, we're going to streamline the meeting by taking up D1 and 2 as the consent agenda, if you so move.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a second by Commissioner Dick. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Wraps up the business portion of the meeting there. All we have left is commission reports.
Commissioner Ortiz.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Happy New Year, and hopefully we have a great year. I know we will, so this coming year. Sorry, I'm trying to find my notes. I did listen to the Finney County board meeting, and it was nice to see that there's a lot of progress that had been dealt with this past year, and they've done a tremendous job on helping people and individuals with the relief programs and things. So they did a really good job, so I'd just like to congratulate them on a successful year. Also the city, with their progress on issues and relief programs as well, so helping those in need with utilities and things like that. So appreciate all of those efforts that were put forth by the city and electrical and whoever else involved in that. So there are still dollars out there available for anyone who is still struggling. So I'd just like to announce and make everyone aware that if they do need those funds, there are still monies out there for that. So they are able to help. But I think they were at the board meeting, they actually approved for the HHR program to a limit or up to $250,000 of that available. So please, if you are in need of that, go ahead and there's an application that you would fill out online. So, but for any of those that need that, I'd just like them to know that I'm praying for everyone that's in that situation, and I hope that they will have a successful year this year to come. So I'd just like to thank everyone for making it clear to hear our motions and sign or with a hand wave or something that we did approve that, or who approved, and thank you, Mayor, for announcing the names of those. So appreciate all that. So I appreciate my fellow commissioners and new mayor and Matt Allen. So Matt had an anniversary this weekend, and so congratulations on that. So for anyone else who's just celebrating a anniversary or birthday, so I shout out happy birthday and happy anniversary to those. Thank you.
Commissioner Euler.
Well, yes, Happy New Year to everybody. 2021, it should be a better year. I mean, it'll be a good year for people. And to piggyback off what Commissioner Ortiz said, yes, there is assistance available, and the funds that United Way received, there will be assistance to help people with utility bills. And so they just have to call the United Way office and work through that process. There's also Salvation Army Catholic Charities also assists with regular food distributions, as does Emmaus House, and also the Senior Center does commodities as well. So you can call 211 and find out where you can get assistance. But yes, as with the new year, there's always the new bills and everything else. So, and I'm excited for 2021 for the start of the pool. I mean, I think it's just going to be wonderful to have Garden Rapids at the big pool opening, and knowing that we were able to keep it affordable and knowing that families were able to partake. And I just think it's going to be a real big blessing to our community.
Commissioner Dick.
First, I'd like to just say thank you to Mayor, or former Mayor Unruh, for the service from last year, and especially in a very, very, very difficult time for not just our community, but our state and our country and in the world, really. It's probably one of the more difficult mayorship times to be. So thank you for all the work that you did and all the extra effort you put into listening to the community and making sure everybody's voice was heard when you were a mayor. And then congratulations to Mayor Cessna for becoming a mayor. And I know this isn't your first time doing this, so I'm glad that you still want to take the effort to step up and make our community great. It can't be too bad if you want to do it more than once. Also,
you'll get that opportunity here quick enough.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much on that. I was looking at the sales tax numbers, and I believe if I was reading it correctly, and Matt can correct me, but we have probably the highest sales that we've ever had for Garden City. And when we're talking about some communities having a dramatic decrease in sales with sales tax and overall sales, especially in retail, that's a really good voting for our community, where we're putting in our best numbers ever at a time when other people are struggling. So it looks like we're positioning ourselves really well to go forward. And like Commissioner Euler said, is being able to make the big pool or Garden Rapids affordable to families, and being able to have that draw in from our trade area where they can afford to come in, do that big pool, do some shopping, do some eating. That's what can keep us, that engine keep on going for the hub of Western Kansas. And then finally, I'd like to just say thanks to all the health professionals that really don't get enough credit for everything that they've been doing for the last year and on with COVID and stuff like that. I mean, I can't imagine what pressure they're under to not just do their job, but to do it the best ever, and to do that day after day after day, where you know some of your patients aren't themselves taking the proper precautions. So thank you to all the health professionals, but also make sure you let them know that you appreciate how much work it is. I can just imagine when finally we have the vaccine and this is all over, they'll just want to go to sleep for a month. So it's thank you to them, and I'm looking forward to a great 2021. Thank you.
Commissioner Henry.
So I did want to thank the commission for last year. Had a lot of fun. Really enjoyed my time as mayor, and I congratulate Mayor Cessna and also Vice Mayor Dick. I'm excited for your upcoming year. I want to make sure and point out the COVID care bags are something the Church of the Nazarene are doing, but they're all local churches are really reaching out, and our faith community is very strong in Garden City, and so they have, a lot of times they have benevolence funds, or they are really the people that can be your arms and hands extended. So, you know, there's so many great nonprofit organizations, including United Way, and congratulations on your award, also the 14,000. But I'll tell you, there are many churches who want to be used, want to be a part of the solution for whatever the need, whether it be COVID or other things. Please reach out to them. Yeah, Happy New Year. Can't believe it's already a new year. And I did want to build on to what Commissioner Ortiz and also Commissioner Orlo talked about, that those funds, that $250,000 additional funds are being ran through the Finney County Convention and Visitors Bureau. So if you want to make an application, their staff is geared up to help you complete that application and to complete it right. So I would just encourage you to reach out to them, and they will help you get the application to get the dollars you need. Finally, I was super excited about the sales tax. I'm going to tell you, if you went shopping in Garden City the week before Christmas, you should have shopped early. I mean, our stores were empty. My daughters came home and thought they were going to pick up a few last-minute gifts, and so I got a picture of what I was going to get, which was great. You know, I mean, it finally came in. I was able to pick it up at the store. But I'll tell you, it's exciting the way our community and our sales tax is actually going. So I'm excited about the new year, and I just appreciate all of our discussion today. It was really valuable, especially around the fees at the big pool. It is an important time in our community, and so I'm excited about 2021.
Good. Again, I'd like to thank former Mayor Unruh for his leadership last year. I know it was an unusual year, and we're still kind of living through that, and hopefully we'll get through this sooner than later. You know, in my speech as mayor, you know, we do have a great city staff, and that was shown to us today by the additional funds that were provided to the United Way and also to St. Catherine Hospital Foundation by the staff. You know, it takes everyone working together to make the community great, and we do have a great city staff, so congratulations to them on all their efforts and what they do every day to make Garden City a great place and to make the city commission look good. And that's what former commissioners have said as well. That's really all I have on my comments. Just make it a great new year. Thank you, and have a good day. We're adjourned.